Okay, so getting there slowly. This evening we are taking a second look at Dubai International after I realised something after the stream yesterday that caused a lot of the problems we saw in the stream. So we are back at Dubai International from Inibuilds, and the thing I learned yesterday is that Dubai already had custom scenery in the simulator. So when we added the Inibuilds scenery on top of it, it didn't clear it away completely. Therefore, the runways and the taxiways looked strange. So the textures weren't as we would have expected them to be, and the gates were messed up. So we are back. We're going to have a second look around the airfield. I have disabled the built-in version of Dubai that is streamed from the internet, and I have installed the 2024 extended version of Dubai from Inibuilds, and we're going to go and have another look around it, and hopefully it's going to address just about everything that looked a bit odd. Just to make it a bit more fun as well, rather than the Phoenix Airbus this evening, we are using the Airbus version 2. So this is the Inibuilds Airbus version 2 that comes with Flight Sim 2024. And the main reason for that is somebody emailed me last night and said, have you done a video end-to-end in the built-in Airbus that comes with the sim to see, where its shortcomings are or where it's really good? So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so let's go and have a look around the airport first then. So going to fly in. There's our little aeroplane. We're down here at the end of the same place we were parked yesterday to get started, but you can see the gates make a lot more sense now, and the signage on the ground and the textures on the taxiways and all the painting is correct everywhere. So it just goes to show, if you get one airport on top of another, it can completely mess it up. So even though it was impressive yesterday, notice how much smoother it is as well. So even though it was impressive yesterday, it was obviously breaking the simulator. So if you look at some of these gates, we're going to have a fly along the edge of the building here as well. So you can see it all kind of makes sense now with all of the hardware. Still got the simulator putting a lot of stock factory liveries in instead of carriers, which is a bit of a shame. So there's a question there in the live stream about performance. I really don't know. We can only guess how much streaming affects it versus having the scenery downloaded. It's a very complicated equation because you've got the system RAM, you've got the graphics card RAM, you've got the speed of your storage, you've got whatever your computer is doing otherwise while the sim is running. But yeah, you can see straight away though, this is a lot better than it looked yesterday. So just in terms of the paintwork. So it's all absolutely accurate now. Look underneath the aeroplanes and the taxiway. So taxiing out and following the lines is going to be a bit more interesting today. So let's go and have a look through the terminal, or one of the terminals. Remember, there's 3 of them. We'll try and slow down a little bit. There we go. It's impressive, isn't it? So it's a lot smoother than it was, obviously, because it's not drawing 2 airports. We were effectively drawing 2 airports on top of each other. So it was remarkable that it managed to survive as well as it did, to be honest. But it's now a completely different story. So it's going to fly through the terminal, through this terminal, and then we'll have a look around some of the rest of the airport to see the paintwork that's all been corrected, of course. So this is the Inibuilds Dubai International, and it really is something else. And it's been transformative, you know, putting that fix in place to remove the existing airport. So it's a bit of a heads up for me that when I come to put in better versions of the airports, I need to be careful that I've disabled any existing ones for the same airport. And you can see the difference in the frame rate, can't you? Look how smooth that is now. Even with it drawing all of these gates and planes. Okay, so if we were to spin around and carry on down the airfield, I'll speed up the drone camera slightly. I don't think this building has an interior, so we'll go straight past this one. Just confirm that. We'll just dip the camera inside it. Yeah, it's an empty one. This one does have an interior, so we'll go and dip into this one and go and have a look. Did you bring it in? My other half just arrived and can't find her laptop that she brought in with her from work. I don't think we actually flew through this hangar yesterday. This terminal. So this is new to me as well. Should we dive down to this lower level? And you get to see it from this perspective. Eye level of passengers. So for the passengers that are at this height, they get to see out across the gates then. It's huge, isn't it? And we've got some travelators. We can obviously fly a lot faster along here if we really want to. I'm just trying to go nice and slowly. Look at the level of detail they've put in here. It's madness, isn't it? I know I said that a lot yesterday. These gates are actually numbered correctly, look. And they've got the Arabic signage as well. Very cool. And again, the gates are all correct. They've got the tunnels marked in as well. Obviously they're not proper tunnels, because that's extremely computationally expensive to do that. All the paintwork is here and all the tarmac is here. So yeah, different story. As soon as you correct it and remove the Asobo version, or the one that Asobo licensed, and we get the next building, and yeah, the difference in frame rate is stunning, isn't it? Very, very good airport. So all I can do is apologise for the video yesterday. I may even go and delete it, you know, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression about the airport. Because it was my mistake. But as always with my channel, I leave mistakes in, and they are opportunities to learn most of the time. And this was a learning thing around management of the scenery. So this just goes on and on, doesn't it? Whoa. As you can see, I'm not very practiced with the drone camera. This building just never ends. And again, all the signage is in place, so we've got all of the correct numbers on the gates, with all of the Arabic for them as well. And look at the resolution of it, considering you might never walk up to this. Look at the resolution of those signs. Have they put the marketing advertisements? No, they're low resolution, but the gate signage is high resolution. What about these signs? Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? ATMs, Starbucks. Interesting. It's just a colossal development, isn't it? Absolutely incredible, really. Okay, so we'll go and scoot around the rest of the airfield. We didn't really go around the rest of the airfield yesterday because the textures weren't up to much, so it didn't look like it had been modelled, but it's a different story now. Look, even this building, now it's surrounded with all the furniture and the painting. It's a different story. And because obviously it's not drawing two airports, it's not glitching, not stuttering. All the the painting is there. Look on the coach parks. It's a completely different story. I'm guessing the buildings are still going to pop in, but it won't be as bad, he says. Famous last words. So the buildings still pop in, but I'll let them go with that one because they're not essential to the airport at all, are they? Okay, so if we carry on down this side of the airport... Yeah, it's stuttering a little bit because it's loading in a lot of these assets for the first time. I'm just going to go and fix something. I've just realised I haven't got the sound coming out of my own headset, which is slightly disconcerting. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? The amount of detail that goes into these airports. Mike Oliver's asking, how did I find out? No, it was actually my dad. He sent me a message on Facebook, or replied to a post on Facebook, and said about correcting it. Because he's got a huge collection of scenery, and he's used to shifting scenery in and out of the simulator. Yeah, if anybody ever wants to see a completely different story in terms of simulator setups, you need to see my dad's. He's got quite a ridiculous setup. It's taken over an entire room of his house, essentially. Yeah, all of these reflections are really murdering it, aren't they? You can see it, look, it smooths out as soon as the reflective surfaces go away. So some of these hangars are open then, so is there anything inside them to go look at? Sort of. They've got the structure in the roof though, that's pretty cool, isn't it? So service hangars. Emirates Engineering Centre. Okay, let's speed the camera up and lift it in the air. We're going to have a look on the far end of the airfield. Is that a couple of A380s parked down here? Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, they're Emirates A380s. They're the main operator of A380s, aren't they? Okay, so we're coming back down towards the hangars, but yeah, even these buildings are much better than they were. It's a huge difference. And these road layouts around the tank farm. Very cool. Got logistics operations here with trucks. There's the radar. We didn't see that yesterday, did we? Hang around for a moment to let assets load in instead of keep scrolling. Then things get a lot smoother. It's an A350. I wonder if that's been put there as a bit of a hint, because obviously they're working on it, aren't they? Okay, and we're back to where we started. Done a lap of the airport. So this is the stock Airbus A320. It is not the Phoenix. This is the free one that comes with the sim. So we are going to press Shift and X to come back out of the drone camera, Shift and C to go back to the walk around, and we're going to go and remove the chocks, hopefully. There we go. And the static... Oh, that one's already gone. I was expecting there to be a... And that one. Interesting. Get rid of the covers on the engines. Just going to walk around the other side and have a look just to make sure. There's a little bit of glitching there. It's not too bad. See if we've missed anything. No, that's all looking fine. So this version of the Airbus, I'm not sure if it has any extra bits and pieces in terms of panels that you can open. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. So, I'm just going to switch screens here in the room I'm in. I need to pull up the checklist. Actually, I can do it on it. I've got about 4 screens in front of me at the moment. So I apologise for you not seeing anything happening for a moment. I'm just pulling up the checklist that I wrote up for the A320 V2. Inibuilds A320 version 2 for Flight Sim 2024. Here we go. So I'm going to run through this checklist. I'll just show you actually what I'm going to be running through. So if I go to Google Drive and I look for A320 version 2. So this is the checklist I'm about to run through. And it goes through how to set up custom views because it needs them. So you did a walk around, and we need to do the wheel chocks and the engine covers, which we did. And then it tells you basically where to go around the aeroplane, where to look, what to flick, and what to do to set the aeroplane up. So it goes pages and pages of it. But I'm going to whiz through, and hopefully I won't get lost along the way. So let's go and see if we've got the custom views. So, 1, 2, 3, we haven't. So this aeroplane has lost its custom views. So it's saying here, I've written notes to say we need one for the overhead panel. So I'm going to show you how to set up custom views while we're at it. So we're going to go into settings and go into controls, and we're going to check what we've got. So if we put in custom, on the keyboard. We've got load custom is Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And save custom is Control Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so those key combinations will save and load custom views. Let's go and check and see if this aeroplane has still got any settings for its throttles, and it hasn't. It's lost them. So the airplane throttles, we're going to set it to basic to engine. And now I notice I've got two of them. I'm going to say basic to engine to begin with, and come back into the aeroplane. And we're going to have a look and see what that does. Now notice this aeroplane has not loaded. Here we go, it's just loaded. That was correct then. So it's just lost which profile to use. Although I haven't got a reverse. That's interesting. So whenever that happens in the simulator, it typically means you need to use the 0 to 100 axes. So this is the same thing again. I've just got both engines set using 0 to 100, and it's completely wrong. Okay, so that might, yeah, it's the programming of the simulator. So in that case, we're going back to the normal axes. So this is the fun and games you get when you first get in an aeroplane, but luckily in 2024 it remembers which profile you've chosen. So I'm going back to engine, and I've got to go reverses. I have to hold a button on, and I've already got it mapped to do it. So it's not on axis. We could see potentially a way of fixing that if we go into options in here and open throttle settings. Reverse on axis is set to yes. So we're going to move both back, set max reverse. We're going to reprogram it basically. Set idle reverse. Set idle. Set climb. See, climb was almost correct. Set flex. Flex was nowhere near. And set toga. And close. So then when we look over here now, it's still not going into reverse. That's a bug in the airplane. I've got one of the buttons set to force reverse. So even though they've got this in the tablet saying reverse on axis, it's taking no notice of it. Okay, so we need to set some views up. So if you remember, Control Alt and a number is going to set the view, and then Alt and the number will bring us back. So what I'm going to do, I'm press Shift and Space to center the view up. I'm going to press Shift and I to rotate us, Shift and D to come sideways. Shift and Q will bring us further away. Shift and S will slide us backwards. What we're trying to do is get as many switches in as we can. That's pretty good. So Control Alt 1. So then when I'm looking forwards now, if I press Alt and 1, I get that view. The other one I need is the MCDU to do most things. So we're going to press Shift and K to rotate us, and then Shift and WAS and D to align us. And then K, there we go, that's about right. So Control Alt 2. So let's try that. So if I press Alt and 2 and Alt and 1, so I can jump around fairly easily. I'm going to set up a third one. I'm not sure how often we'll use it, but if we go and just from the pilot's perspective, if we just go and look at the tablet here and press Control Alt 3. Yeah, so now I can go Alt 3, Alt 1, Alt 2, and Shift Space. Sometimes you'll get people that will want to set this as a view as well to look at the FGCP, but I don't know. I tend to look at it from the side because it makes it easier to push and pull the buttons if you're at an oblique angle to it. Okay, so we've got the airplane set up to use in the simulator again. So we've done the walk around. we're going to go then and get the airplane ready. So batteries go on, and then external power on. Strobe goes to auto. Nav and logo light goes to 1. Put the master switch on for the APU and start the APU. Oh, also check your physical controls are in the right places. Just remembered to check that myself. Go and put the cruise supply on. And set the emergency exit to armed. And put the no smoking sign to auto. And align the ADIRS system. Okay, so we can go and set brightnesses if we need to. All of the brightness knobs work, so these screens are here, and the same on the other side. And then the two knobs here do the two screens here, but they're all lovely and bright, so we don't need to worry about any of that. So we're going to go over to the tablet now. Shift and 5, there was a keyboard map for the tablet. We didn't need to set a custom one. So I've actually got it in my notes to press Shift and 5 to get here. So we are not using SimBrief today. I guess we could. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So the advantage that will give us is being able to pull the flight into the aeroplane if it works. It didn't work for us yesterday, but we'll try it again. So create a new flight, VFA 123, depart from OMDB, is it, I think? Let's just double check that, OMDB. We're arriving back into OMDB. We're in the Airbus A321, oh sorry, A320N, which is the, sorry, A20N, I'll get it right eventually. And that will give us a route, but we don't want to do the route it gives us, we want to do this route. So, which way's the wind today, by the way? Let's double check that while we're here. 80 degrees, 4 knots. That's perfect. So, we're going to go into the flight plan in Little Nav Map, copy it to the clipboard, and we're going to go and paste it into SimBrief. Get rid of that second chunk that's got the speed in it and analyze it. And it's saying it's valid. So 12 right, matches Little Nav Map. So then generate the route. So that gives us an operational flight plan. And we're going up to 37,000 feet today, my word. So we can go and fetch that from SimBrief now. And it's loaded it. So then we can go to the payload page next. And we can fetch it from SimBrief. So that gets you passengers and cargo and fuel. And we can apply the load. We can do it instantly. So you saw the airplane just sag there on its suspension. Then we can go to the takeoff page. And we can click the sync button. And it doesn't give us the weight, does it? Populate the weight from the payload page. Use the live gross weight. So we want it in tons, so it would be 67.6 or 0.7. 67.7. So if we come back in here, go in here, I think we can use the keyboard. Can indeed. And then click calculate. And it's worked everything out for us. And we can send that to the FMGS. Okay, so then we can go over to the MCDU and we can hopefully clear any messages out that are in here. Go to the FMGC, press the init button and do an init request. And that's pulled in the flight plan. Press the IRS init soft key and then press the return soft key. And then we can see there's a message there. We can clear that message as well. And then we go next page. And we should... Oh, I don't think it will fill these for us. Oh, I tell a lie, look, it's done that. So, where did it get that from? No, it will do it then. You don't have to look them up anymore. You used to have to look them up. So we've filled in the zero fuel weight and the block fuel. So we just check that's the right number. Not that I don't trust it, but block fuel 5.2. And where are we? Payload. Fuel 5.2 thousand kilograms. There we yeah, so it's fine. Okay. So Alt 2, we come down here. I'm just reading my own notes here. So we did block fuel and block confirm. We can press the performance button. And we can notice we've got some numbers alongside. That's interesting, isn't it? We have to key them across in this version of this Airbus. There's no way of getting it to fill it for us, which is fine. Flaps. Now we're going to have to cross-check that. I don't think it will fill us. Yeah, it won't fill it for us. So we'll go over to the tablet and look at the takeoff calculator. We want, so let's go and check that again. So Alt 2, we want the flaps and the trim. So flaps are going to be 1 and 0.7 up. So 1 / 0.7 up. And then we want the flex temp as well, which is there, 58 degrees. I will get the keys right eventually. 58 degrees. I'm jumping around the cockpit like a crazy thing. Confirm the takeoff data, clear the messages, and that should be good. We can look through. Obviously, we could change the climb. The cruise is in there. Should have got it from the rest of the system. I'm just going to double check this. So we're going to set the QNH, so press comma, set the QNH on all of the altimeters. Then go to the FGCP, so shift and 7, there's shift and 7 and shift and 8 for either side of it. To be honest, I find it easier just to look with the mouse. So we're going to go and set this up as well. So we're going to put the flight directors on. We're going to go and, so that's given us managed speed mode. Notice we haven't put our departure. Oh yeah, we haven't finished our route, have we? Let's go and finish that before we do anything else. So, Alt 2, wasn't it? So, how are we departing from OMDB? Let's go departures. 12 right, wasn't it? And we're doing, I think it's the Emerge 2. Emma 2G. So that inserts that into the flight plan, and then on the way back in, we can go to arrival. That's changed the takeoff data, but we just have to double check that. ILS 12 right, and we're coming in on the Dato 1E standard instrument, standard terminal arrival route, sorry, and insert that. So then if we go and scroll through, we should see a great big discontinuity at the end of the SID, and that's expected. So we want to go from Emaru direct to ALA. So ALA, drop that in. There it is. FJV RAV, FJV RAV, insert, ALA. Where did it get those from? And then ABM, and then Dato B. That's a little bit strange. It's figured the rest of the flight plan out. Oh, I got it from, that's got that from SimBrief, hasn't it? Of course it has. I'm being, it got the routing. what's next? Just looking through my own checklist here and making sure that we've done the things we need to do. So it said to check the takeoff data, so we can go and have a look at that, and that's all fine still. The reason for that is because we changed runways. So we should have done that after setting the departure runway. If we come back into init, we can go and get the wind as well. So it's already got it from SimBrief, I think, when we sent the data across, but the wind request will go and update it. So now we've got a full flight plan. You will notice now, yeah, the heading allows manage mode now because we've got a full plan. Unless you've got a full plan with no discontinuities, it won't let you have heading mode. So we're going to go and set this out to 37,000 feet, wasn't it? And managed mode. It's interesting that lets you do it on the ground. Okay, so we're going to go and get... Notice there's a few glitches with the cameras. So I went Alt-1 there and it was offset slightly. So overhead we're going to go and put the seatbelt signs to on. We're going to go and put the external power to off now because the APU is up and running. And do pushback. So obviously various different Airbuses have different ways of controlling this. So if you go and look on the ground here, we may need to go and toggle the GPU to remove it. So it says it's removed now. We don't have chocks or covers already, which is because we removed them when we did the walk around, remember? So let's try the buttons in the aeroplane to control the pushback. If we press aft, sorry, so here comes the tractor. So at the moment parking brake is on, so the aeroplane shouldn't go anywhere. While we're waiting for him, we'll go and put the fuel pumps on. So is he going to click into place? And then we'll remove the... So there is a bug in this aeroplane. And yeah, he's going the wrong way, isn't he? We need to get back inside. Tell him to go right, please. And it's not going to, look. It's just going to do whatever it wants. So we're going to stop him before he smashes the aeroplane up. It is a bit of a random number generator, isn't it, with the pushbacks. And we're going to start the engines. So, to start the engines, we need... APU is running, APU bleed comes on. If you watch the switch down here, I'm actually using my throttles to do this now. So, ignition, start down here, and then advance, engine number 2. You can see N2 is climbing. While we're waiting for that, we've got the predictive wind shear. We'll set it to system number 1. We've also got TCAS over here. We're going to go and put to auto and on and TA, which is transmit. Get all these handles out of the way. So we're just waiting for the engine to come up. We also need to go and arm the ground spoilers. Okay, engine number 2 is started. Let's start engine number 1. And we can go and set the taxi lights to on. Beacon light should have been on with starting the engines already. I forgot that. I'm not reading my own checklist now. I'm winging it at the moment. So engine's coming up. Should we have a look outside? get a co-pilot today. I forgot to change our uniforms though, so we're both very casually dressed. Okay, both engines are up and running, therefore the ignition can come back off. And the APB can come off, and the APU can come off because the engines are now generating the power for the aircraft. Okay, let's get head tracking working. Before we go anywhere, I thought it might be quite good to run Navigraph. So, this is the same route that we did last night, but we'll go and unload it and we'll import from SimBrief again. So there's the one we just made. And you can see there's an approach missing here, so we want ILS 12, right? So the SimBrief never includes the full approach data. So there we are, we've got everything there, which gives us all of our plans. But most importantly, it gives us the layout of the airport. So we're taking off 12 right, so we will do I guess a 270-degree left turn. Now, I've got this mapped to something on the keyboard by accident, so we'll just have to ignore that. Yeah, this airport looks 100 times better now, doesn't it? So I will update the description of yesterday's video, telling everybody to watch this one instead. So Ray is asking, what am I using for the flyover view of the airport? The drone camera. So if you have an Xbox controller around, I'm not sure if it works with a wireless one, but I've got a wired Xbox controller. You can plug it into a USB port, and Flight Sim by default, if you switch with Shift and X to the drone camera view, you can fly the drone camera with the Xbox controller. So I can show you now. If I press Shift and X, I can fly, I can translate the camera forwards and backwards, left and right. I can also rotate up and down and left and right with 2 analog sticks. Also, I can use the triggers to move us around. But, to move us up and down. So you can do these sweeping camera shots. So Shift and X will put us back in. I'm actually going to go and pull the Xbox controller back out though, because it tends to drift. It's not the best behaved controller in the world. That just looks photographic, doesn't it? It's crazy. Where we are on the map. So we're coming over towards Kilo. We'll follow it down. I wonder if they'll get around to licensing some more carrier liveries. So we need to set the flaps to take off, which was 1, wasn't it? So you can see over here, the flaps are travelling. So obviously we've got some time as we taxi out to go and check we've done everything. So we'll do a takeoff test just before we accelerate on the runway. We've done the ground spoilers arming. I think everything else is pretty much ready. So let's have a look. Nearly there. So K2 would be the best one to go for, wouldn't it? So this is KL. Does that match what we see here? K3. There's K2. I was looking at the wrong sign previously. Story of my life. So we don't need... This is an enormously long runway here. I think it's 14,000 feet long. Obviously we don't need all of that for a tiny little Airbus A320. A380, different story. So I've got no traffic around, so we can get on with this. We'll pull up to the piano keys. I know people otherwise will be asking, how come you didn't line up properly? So when we come to a halt in a moment, we're going to go and just check things like lights and aircraft configuration, just to make sure we're in a good place. So there's 12 right. Parking brake on for a moment. So landing lights come on. Nose light goes to takeoff. Should we do this from our pre-programmed views? They make them a bit easier, don't they? So beacon light is on, strobes are on auto. Nav lights are on. We don't need the dome lights internally. Everything else looks good. Fuel pump's on. Nav is all good to go. Have we got any messages down here? The only one we need to check is the takeoff test, so we'll press it. He says famous last words. We'll press it. Is it not implemented? It should come up saying norm. Maybe it isn't implemented. Okay. Not a problem. So, come off the parking brake, ease the throttles forwards, and we'll get a warning if there's anything wrong. And we've got no warnings. So we'll press shift and space again, and then put the head tracking back on. So keep an eye out on the indicated airspeed ribbon for the rotation speed. Here it comes, 142 knots. We've got a slight crosswind. It's trying to weathercock the aeroplane. Gear up. Autopilot on. Throttles to the climb descent. I'm not going to lift the flaps just yet. Got a speed restriction going on. Look, it hasn't accelerated yet, and here it goes. It's about to accelerate. So it's just dipping the nose. So it looked like... That's interesting, isn't it? it dipped down to 150 knots there. We didn't tell it to. So the speed is armed. So flaps can come up now. And we should start turning right. There's your view of Dubai. The other great thing about head tracking is I can do that if I want to. Oh yeah, I didn't have the auto brake armed, so takeoff might have done that to us. Let's turn the volume down of the airplane a bit now. I know people like to hear everything happening when you're getting the airplane ready. So, 13,000 feet is the transition altitude, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. Let's turn the head tracking off now. Obviously landing lights go off at 10,000 feet. The airplane will pretty much fly the route on its own now, so let's go and increase the range on the navigation display. So this route is going to take us out over the water and then loop back around. If you're watching yesterday, you'll know exactly what's going to happen for the next hour or so. It's a very clear day today, isn't it? So coming up through 7,500 feet. So I've got the, just someone's on the live streams asking, I've got it set to TA just during takeoff, and obviously you can then go to TARA. The reason, I've got no air traffic around now, which kind of makes it a bit of a moot point. What we're talking about here is the traffic collision avoidance system. And it's got two modes, two major modes it operates in. So TA is you broadcasting your location. TARA is you are receiving the location of others. And the autopilot can react to it. So if you are on a collision course with other traffic, it can take avoiding action. And it will normally do that by climbing or descending. And you'd have to go and read the pilot operating handbook of the Airbus to understand what it will do in what situations. But the aeroplane will take avoiding action. You know, it will also take over the throttle in order to do that as well. There are several kind of sets of laws that the guidance systems of the Airbus follows, and you'd have to ask one of the professional pilots about the different laws, and all of these little marks around the outside of the displays mean things, and I've never learnt them. I fly too many airplanes. One day I'll get around to it and I'll learn what all the little markers mean. But there's little hints all over the screens about what set of laws, what mode you're operating in. Another thing that one of the professional pilots on YouTube alerted me to is the lights. You should never go by the lights on these buttons to know what mode you're in. You always go by what's on top of the navigation display. Oh, sorry, on top of the primary flight display. So this is the mode the aircraft is operating in. Don't use what buttons are lit up. Okay, so we went through 10,000 feet some time ago. Again, I was busy talking. So all the lights can go off. Should we let the people in the cabin go and walk up and down for a few minutes? So we've got no messages. I don't think... Oh, we got the QNH as well. Look, we've just gone through 13,000 feet, so we're going to standard QNH. I think we have to pull them. Pull both sides. There we go. It stops flashing. So we've gone to 2992 or 1013 hectopascals. Okay, we're good. Let the airplane get on with it. So Philip has said about turning on TARA. It's an interesting one. I wrote a blog post about it because I did some research a while ago, and it's an interesting one. If you talk to real pilots, they'll all have different opinions, and because it's part of the standard operating procedures of your operator, it's not something that's enshrined in air law. Just as the kit isn't installed on all aeroplanes, or different types of kit are installed, or so it will be down to standard operating procedures and down to your insurers and all sorts of things. But yeah, you'll notice if you watch Flight Radar 24 on the internet, if you've ever tried to follow one of your family, maybe if they're flying somewhere to see if they've got there safely or whatever it is, you'll notice that the aircraft don't. Some aircraft turn the transponder on at the terminal at the gate. Some turn it on at the runway. Some don't turn it on until they're taken off. And you see a huge mixture. And so as I was saying, it's not something that's done at a specific time. Okay, should we have a look outside? It does look pretty, doesn't it? So I always get confused with all the different acronyms. I know NEO in terms of the Airbus is New Engine Option. I can't for the life of me remember right now what LEAP stands for. So, just out of interest, let's go and zoom out on the navigation display, because we're going up to 37,000 feet, so we're going to get there. We're not going to be up there for very long, are we? Oh, maybe we are. We're going to come down quite steeply then. So, just after Allah, we get to 37. So we're doing obviously the managed climb. And then after a RAV, we begin our descent back down again. Cool. Ah, so high voltage has come through. Leading edge aviation propulsion. Did you actually know that explanation, or have you just copy and pasted it? The thing always amuses me reading up about these things. The shark winglets make a huge difference to the performance of the aeroplane, to its economy. Who would have thought? There we go. I'm going to leave it on that view for a little while I go and make a coffee. I'll be back in a few minutes. Right, I'm back. So let's see how we're doing in terms of the flight plan. Climbing up to 32,000 feet. Yep, everything's just working boringly perfectly. So we get individual systems over here as well, which is really nice. So we can have the... That's interesting though, that took ages for it to come up with the progress page. So usually I leave it on the flight plan page this side and progress the other side. Just checking around things. So let's have a play with the chronometer. So you can start and stop it. And you can reset it, I'm guessing. So that's the stopwatch mode. It's interesting that that shows markers. Yeah, I'd have to read the book on how the different modes work. Rather than guessing. So Remco is saying turning off the fasten seatbelt sign and the plane keeps banking left for minutes. Well, that's because of the flight plan. I'm banking left all the way around the bay. Oh, the wind is pushing us around there, look at that. Warn the passengers we're going to be experiencing turbulence. Just reading Martin's comment there. The funniest stand-up routine I've ever heard about air travel was Billy Connolly. Now, I'm not going to do the voice or try to do an impersonation of him, but he was basically saying about the futility of, say if you are in an aircraft at 37,000 feet and there's a serious problem with the aeroplane and it's obviously descending at quite some rate towards the ground, and he was on about the futility of the safety procedures of putting life jackets on, for example. I won't use his colourful language, but he was essentially saying, wouldn't it be refreshing if they told you the truth? I said, you know, we are going to go into the ground like an effing dart. If you want something to do for the next couple of minutes, you may as well put your life jackets on, and then when they dig us out of the hole in the ground that we're going to cause in 200 years' time, they'll think we were on a rafting holiday. But of course you can imagine him relating that story. It's best not to read stories like that just before you're about to travel, to be honest. You hear, or you read stories on the internet, don't you, about close shaves or near accidents or whatever, and it's difficult to know without having an official report to read which ones are made up. There's that whole saying, isn't there? It's on the internet, therefore it must be true. Then you do get some stories that are obviously real, like the Gimli glider, that are just incredible stories. So if anybody wants some entertainment this evening, go and search for the Gimli glider. It was a commercial aircraft. I can't remember exactly what model of aircraft it was. Several hundred souls on board. They refueled with the wrong amount of fuel, and I'm not sure if it was pounds and kilograms that were muddled up, or if the instrumentation on board was set the wrong way, or even on the fueling rig. But anyway, they didn't have as much fuel as they should have done, and nobody noticed until it was too late, and they ended up thousands of feet over Canada gliding. And luckily, one of the crew, that I think may have been the captain, was an ex-Air Force pilot, and he knew that there was a disused military airfield within gliding range. But the same day this happened, there was a collection of people at the disused airbase with their cars and motorbikes having some sort of dragster meet-up. So they were all racing up and down the runway. And obviously this silent aircraft comes piling out of the sky. Luckily nobody got hurt. But yeah, they glided into a disused Air Force base. It's probably on YouTube. You can probably go and find it. I imagine the usual suspects will have done breathless commentary about it and pulled it right down to who was to blame and what exactly happened. There are lots of YouTube channels that do that, aren't there? And as someone said in the comments, there's probably a TV show or two covering it as well. I'm not so sure it was a fuel leak. I think it was pounds and kilograms were muddled up. I'm not quite sure how or when it happened in the normal run of procedures. Be worth going and having a read up on it rather than guessing. I've no doubt there's been lots of other stories very similar over the years. That's just one that comes to mind. There's another story of military story of I don't know if anyone else has seen this one or read about it. I'm not sure if it was the YF-12 or the Blackbird that broke up in mid-air. They had an engine surge. They lost control of the aircraft, and it snapped in two essentially. The pilot, I think the co-pilot was killed, and the pilot became unconscious during the fall from whatever the altitude was on the day, 60,000, 70,000 feet. But he came round on the way down, and he survived. So I think there were stories at the time when Top Gun Maverick came out, and there's that scene where Tom Cruise walks into the bar with the dishevelled flight suit and all the rest of it, Although it didn't happen like that, I think it was a farmer or a farm hand that found the pilot of the Blackbird. But it was a similar kind of scene where it looked like a spaceman walking across the field. I think he was quite badly injured, you know, just from the decompression. Okay, we're turning back in towards the coast, so we're going to fly out a little way first. Let's increase the range on this. And then we're going to do this standard terminal arrival route. So let's go and have a look at it on the chart just to get ourselves familiar with it, even though we did it yesterday. So there was the SID that we've done, and then we flew out over the coast. And yeah, here we go. So there's the start. So it begins at Daytob or Daytob. So we need to be below 10,000 feet and 230 knots when we get to Daytob. So that's our first, or our overarching requirement on the way in. Because of this racetrack, there's no real hurry to get down to approach altitude, because if you have a look at the approach chart, it just says 3,000 feet at the point of interception of the ILS, which is from about 10 miles out. You should be able to pick it up. So while we're waiting and flying along, we've got a few minutes to kill. Let's go and have a look at Little Nav Map. So I covered this yesterday. I'm going to cover it again for anybody that didn't see it. Little Nav Map now works with Flight Sim 2024. So this is the latest beta. If we go in and look at the scenery library, you can see we've now got 2024 as an option. There doesn't appear to be a way of removing old data. So I've still got my 2020. I'll have to have a look and see if I just clear the folder out, if it will do it, but I don't think I can. I think it's in a SQLite database behind it. I'll have to ask Alex, the developer, if there's a way of doing that easily. So when you load Scenery Library now, it will pause the simulator when it does it, and the reason for that is because they are using the SimConnect interface to scrape the data from the simulator. So if you think about it, when you get various instruments in the aeroplane, I'm not sure if it's so true of the big airliners, but certainly aeroplanes that are using things like the GNS 530, they can show you nearest waypoints. I'm guessing it does it here as well. Look, when you're doing when you show waypoints, it's showing them near to a reference point, which is you. And that is a call to an interface on SimConnect, which you can get that information from it. You can make a request of SimConnect saying, give me the nearest waypoints. So I think that's just saying top of descent reached. Look, check descent data. Oh, we've just gone through it while I'm busy talking. So let's go and pull this down to 10,000 feet then, and go manage mode for the descent. And the dot has gone below us. We did this yesterday when I was busy talking, didn't we? So I'm going to throw the spoilers out, which will allow us to descend more steeply until we catch up. We've only just gone past it. It won't take long to catch up. So yeah, we were talking about Little Nav Map. It uses the SimConnect interface to scrape the data, but it does mean it pauses the simulator while it's doing it. So it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. But look at the amount of heliports. There's literally 50,000 of them around the world. They are everywhere. Okay, let's go and have a look in the airplane. Have we caught up with the profile yet? Not quite. So we'll continue descending. We're coming down 4,400 feet a minute. Spoilers are out. Should we go and have a look at the spoilers? There you go, you can see them. And this isn't unusual for aircraft to do this. If you've ever looked out on the wing when you're going on holiday, it seems to be fairly normal practice to stay as high and as fast as they can for as long as they can. Usually because aeroplanes are always late, because passengers always mess up boarding the aeroplane, or you get somebody that doesn't turn up and they have to go and find their bag and remove it, and yeah. So aeroplanes are always a few minutes late and always trying to play catch up. I don't know if aeroplanes work on similar schemes to trains, but in the UK at least, it always used to be the case. If a train became late, it would become essentially the scapegoat for the rest of the network for that operator. So if you started to fall late on a train, you were going to be late, you know, no holds about it, because you would be last in the queue everywhere, rather than let other trains become late. Right, we've just caught up with the profile. So come off the spoilers, you can see the dot has come into the middle now. So we've got until dato B to get down to 10,000 feet. If we put the constraint view on, look, you can see it there. Let's zoom in. And if we look down here, we'll see all of the information. So dato B, look, 250 knots. It says here, not 230. There's a bit of a difference there. And there's a star next to 10,000 feet, meaning it's a requirement. So yeah, this is the Inibuilds Airbus A320 version 2. I think it's just called A320 now. They don't call it version 2, I don't think, anymore. That they built late in the life of 2020. And it's obviously been ported across into 2024. It's pretty good. It's obviously not quite as high fidelity as the Phoenix. There we go, look, we're making our turn towards dato B. So we'll be wanting to put the destination data in, won't we? So let's go and pull up the information on Dubai International. Open the airport in Navigraph, get the weather page up. 1014 hectopascals on the ground. So go to performance and go to next phase. 1014 hectopascals. Temperature on the ground is 24 centigrade. Wind 120 degrees 8 knots. 120/08. And we're done. Landing config. So you can either go for flaps 3 or full flaps. I'm going to go for full. So we're good to go. We've got all the data into the aeroplane. So what are heliports? Well, a helicopter landing pad with a building next to it, I guess. So if you think about somewhere like a rescue building, typically they're on the edge of airfields, but you know, there's nothing to stop you having them in a city, for example, a helicopter on the roof of a hospital. Where do we control the spoilers? This lever here, speed brake. So the speed brake, I'm not going to do it right now. It lifts up these flaps on the top edge of the wing, which disrupts the airflow and causes drag and slows the aeroplane down in a hurry. So this lever, as you extend it, makes those flaps lift further and further up. Flaps are on the other side, so flaps are on the underneath of the wing on this side, and they extend out and down. So these are the rams that control them inside these strakes. These strakes also have the property of channeling the air to force it over the flaps. You know, to stop the air escaping sideways, for example, which makes them a lot more powerful and more efficient. Okay, we're down to 10,000 feet, and it's obviously we're below 13,000 now, so we need to go and set the QNH to 1014. So for anybody that's new watching this, the reason you do this, the altimeters are controlled by air pressure. They are reading air pressure and turning it into altitude, because obviously as you get higher in the sky the air gets thinner, so that's how an altimeter works. When you are at altitude amongst other air traffic, the most important thing is that you all have the same calibration as each other. So you're reading your altitude relative to each other. Yeah, so if two aeroplanes say they are at 18,000 feet, then they are both at the same 18,000 feet as each other, if that makes sense. As long as, you know, that's why you have standard barometric pressures. Once you get closer to the ground, and you like for approach or departure, it's more important that you know where the ground is. So by setting the QNH for the reading from the ground, you are calibrating the altimeter so it will be correct at sea level. Yeah? Or so it will be correct, sorry, at airfield elevation. That's what I should have said. Obviously, the main reason for that is then you know the altitude of the airport, therefore you know how high you are over the airport on approach, or any ground features nearby. Okay, we're going to go into this racetrack now. So I'm letting the aeroplane do all of this itself. It's keeping up remarkably well. If we zoom in a little bit, we'll see the racetrack ahead of us. So it is worth pointing out, this renders the radius of turns based on the speed we are doing. Let's have a look on Navigraph. Does it have any further speed restrictions? 210 knots. So as we come into this turn, we're going to slow down a bit further, then down to 185. So these big sweeping turns will tighten up and become two corners as we slow down. It's always interested me that the flight path takes no notice of the constraints that are approaching. So at the moment, look, we're doing 250 knots. Having said that, has this not got some of the constraints in it? It's not going to go to 230 knots until we get to Rerek. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. Look, it's going to come whizzing through here at speed. So let's, just to illustrate that then, to straighten these corners up a bit, we're going to go to away from managed speed mode to selected speed mode. We'll take it down to 220 knots. So you can see the aeroplane is should have been at 7,000 feet already. Oh, of course I didn't set that, did I? So we're going to set 3,000 feet as our target. That's my bad, I missed that. When we came through data, we should have been descending down for the next target altitude, which is 3,000 feet for the approach. So we're higher than we should be. But we're coming down fairly quickly. So it's busy pumping fuel around at the moment. So we put the spoilers out at the moment, so you can see, just to help us descend a bit more quickly. Another thing to check on the way in is the ILS. So 109.5, 119 degrees. So if we go and look on the MCDU, we got 109.5, 119 degrees. So that obviously picked that up when we chose the approach route, when we programmed the flight plan. I'm going to go for flaps 1. So there's a handy little chart here of the speeds that you're allowed the various flaps at. So you can go for flaps 1 at a maximum of 230 knots. So VFE is the never exceed speed. So obviously you just look on the indicated airspeed, see what speed you're doing, and then you know what flap setting you can get away with. And the reason I've done it is I can descend more quickly now, which sounds counterintuitive, but flaps create drag. Therefore you can descend faster with flaps down than you can with them up. Flaps and spoilers, you do what's called crow braking. So we've got the flaps are down slightly and the top of the wing is up slightly. So the wing is unaerodynamic at the moment. That makes sense. Okay, so I've just taken the spoilers away. Whoa! Oh, I've moved the throttle by accident. Just getting that back under control. So that's killed the auto throttle because we oversped. I'll just put it back on. I knocked the throttle with my hand. There we go. Put them back on the climb descent. So it's worth pointing out actually. For the Airbus auto throttle to work, the throttles have to be on the climb descent. I had knocked it with my hand. So we're going to go to 185 knots now. So you can see the speed is falling off quite quickly. And we're still descending. So we're below 10,000 feet. We should have had the landing lights on some time ago. Let's go do that as well while we're at it. If you want to, on the way in, you can turn the APU back on. Normally you might only do it when you're on the runway though. The advantage of doing it is if you can't get power at the gate, you can turn the engines off with the APU on. so you don't, you know, so you can turn the engines off, or you might want to taxi on one engine or whatever it is that you want to do. And again, that's all standard operating procedures of the different. So G Hayes is saying, are ground spoilers and spoilers the same thing? What's going on with that is, yeah, so you saw earlier on we armed ground spoilers, yeah, when we were taking off. All that means is you are charging up the hydraulic rams that will lift these spoilers so that you can lift them incredibly quickly if you want to. And the reason for that is aero braking. So if you wanted to abort your takeoff, it means that the whole top of the wing's going to lift up. Yeah. So it's going to not be aerodynamic at all. And it will lift them remarkably quickly. So if you do need to abort your takeoff and you go and slam the spoilers open with that armed, the spoilers will come up a lot more quickly than normal. I'm not doing it now. I think you need weight on wheels as well for it to work. There, you know, there's safeguards built into it. So we're going to go and turn the landing system on, which gives us the symbology here. So you can see there's the centerline marker, the localizer. We can't see the glide slope yet, we're too far away. So let's go flaps 2, and we could go gear down. Notice the leading edges have extended as well. It's not just the back of the wing. So you get leading edge slats, as they're called. So should we put this back onto manage speed mode? So I press the knob towards the aeroplane. That was a bad idea. It wants to go faster than I want it to go. It wants to go 190 knots. Well, let's just try that again. So you can see it's setting the marker there for, yeah, it's just bringing it down to 185. Because that's coming up, look, that's the next constraint. You can see here, look, it can now see the glide slope, but it's off of the scale. So if you imagine the runway's out in front of us over there, and there's an invisible line through the sky that's in front of us that descends down to the runway, we're below it, and it doesn't fit on this scale just yet. So the other thing we can do then is go for approach mode. And the aeroplane will crab right, look, so it's going to go and get onto the centre line, which is just off to the side of our glide slope, of our flight plan, sorry. Once you've got approach mode on, you can turn on both autopilots. So you can see autopilot 1 and 2 have come in, and we've got Cat 3 dual as lit up. That means basically the aeroplane has talked to, or received the data from the ILS, and it knows what it's dealing with in terms of, you know, the accuracy of the data. So it's gone to Cat 3. You can see it's locked onto the localizer now, and here comes the glide slope. So we're just descending very, very gently at the moment towards 3000. When we fly through the glide slope, the aeroplane will chase it down because we are in approach mode. So I seem to remember I let this plane land itself when it first came out, and it smacked into the ground quite hard. So I'm probably going to land this myself rather than rely on it. Should we turn it off now? We'll let it capture the glide slope. Actually, no, let's do it. So autopilot off. Interesting that doesn't trigger. Oh, I say it eventually did trigger it, and now it won't shut up. Oh, we have to switch it off here, don't we? There's a red button on the stick. In some of the airplanes they behave, some of them they don't. So let's give the wings a waggle. It's us now. So if we wanted to, we could lift the nose. Let's get the auto throttle off as well. And get rid of the master caution from turning the auto throttle off. So we are in control now. So all I was going to say is we can lift the nose up and fly up into the glide slope to get onto it earlier rather than just waiting at the altitude we're at. Obviously you wouldn't do that if you'd been instructed by ATC to fly at a given height. Or if they are understanding that you're flying a particular approach in, you would stick to the published approach. So we got a few knots left wind, which explains why we've been pushed slightly away from the glide slope. We've gone high now. So let's press Alt 7.
$2,500.
So just bringing the glide slope back in and looking at the speed. So we can just about make out the PAPI lights now on each side of the runway as well, and they should normally agree with the glide slope.
$1,000.
Okay, you can just about make out the PAPI lights now. Look, 2 reds, 2 whites, which agrees with the glide slope. Getting a bit slow.
Speed.
Yeah, the wind has just come around behind us, look, and that was enough to make us lose a little bit of lift.
400.
It is always interesting to me that when you're in landing configuration and near the lowest speed limit,
300.
the wind can have quite an effect on you. At speed, obviously it doesn't affect you as much.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. 10. Retard. 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 Retard.
So I've gone for reversers, and it's not slowing down in a hurry, is it, with the reversers? Oh, did we decide they didn't work? We did, didn't we? You have to hold the button on. There we go, they're working now. Okay, putting the flaps and the spoilers up as we roll in. High speed exit. Go for the wheel brakes now. Okay, straighten the view up. Whoops, I've gone and done the opposite. So this aeroplane seems to work remarkably well. We drifted a little bit over the runway, but that's just not, lack of practice with the aeroplane. So Philip's saying I had no spoilers. No, the spoilers were open on the runway. As soon as we touched down, I went full reverse and spoilers, but I forgot that the quadrant wasn't going for reverse. There's obviously a bug in the aeroplane. So I then remembered and held the button in on the joystick, or on the controller, sorry, and reverse kicked in. So we'll go and park up where we started from, shall we? I think we were this end of, well, that 747 is, I think. Or maybe we were on the next building. Maybe we were on the next building. I don't remember. Have I turned off the HUD? There is no head-up display in this. Unless you mean something else by HUD. Should we go and park at one of these gates? These are really for the heavies though, not for the smaller aeroplanes. Got an A340 there. 767 over there. Let's ruin their day. Come on, van, we're about to flatten you. If you look very carefully, we should see markings. Okay, there isn't an A320 marking there. So, I'm going to turn head tracking off to do this. We mentioned earlier, you have the option, you can either put the APU on in order to turn the engines off so you don't lose power to the aeroplane, or you can come over to the, so we can say GPU available on the ground page. We can put some chocks in place and some covers maybe. Oh no, the covers won't work, will they? Until the engines are stopped. So we've now got external power available because we've put the GPU on, ground power unit. So once you've got external power, bus transfer is automatic in the Airbus for the power, so we can just go and turn the engines off. I'm not sure if this version of the Airbus has the clunking sound of the relays switching over the power. The Phoenix does. Doesn't sound like it, does it? I'm surprised this aeroplane, when it works really well. So we can go and turn the fuel pumps back off. We can go and turn all the lights off, so beacon off now, and the strobes can come off, nav lights can come off, the emergency exit lights can be disarmed. We never put the seatbelt signs on for landing, did we? We should have done. Oh well. ADIRs can go back off. Oh, the oxygen can come back off. Very good. So we can go and play games as well, I'm guessing, with this now. So can we put chocks in place now, or do we have to do it via the crew? What do we get control over then? So if we open the door, we can toggle the jetway or the stairs. So here comes the jetway. How closely will it work? Or will it mangle the aeroplane? Oh, it's pretty close. Very good. Okay, so there's not much else to show you really. We're going to turn off the external power now and turn off the batteries, and the airplane will go cold and dark. I'm not sure if this airplane or this version of it has the cabin. Oh, it does indeed. So we can go and have a wander around. One day I'll get GSX, and then you'll be able to watch the passengers getting on and off the airplane, laughing at them. Very cool. So obviously we can see now out to the... Oh, they won't let us walk through there. So again, this is where the drone camera comes into its own. So if we go and get the drone camera, if I can... Okay, why is the drone camera not working? Oh, I unplugged it, didn't I? If I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. There we go. So what we're going to do is simulate walking through here. Because we can. Because obviously the drone camera doesn't clip at the edges of the aircraft. You can just fly straight through. So then once we get through the door, we should see... Yeah, obviously you're seeing the simplified 3D structures. But how cool is that though, to get that view that you sometimes see when you're approaching the aeroplane? Awesome. So we can walk away from our aeroplane and go back into the terminal and see our aeroplane from the terminal in a moment. So if we walk back up. Walking backwards. We need to come around here, don't we? So to get into the terminal, we would be coming through here, I guess. And up another set of stairs. Obviously we're breaking the glass because it's not designed for us to be doing this at all, really. There we go, look. So then once we're in the arrivals lounge, you can get to see your aeroplane. We can go and wander around. Look at the size of this building, it's mad, isn't it? And you can go and take your pictures before you go and fetch your bags. Have they put the baggage signs in? Do we know which way we're supposed to be walking? So there's travel agents here. See, now I'm not sure which level's which. This is half the problem. If you were to get off the aeroplane, yeah, presumably you're still up here. But are you here or are you up here? Which is arrivals and which is departures? You'd think this would be arrivals, wouldn't you? Because there's less seating areas. The departures further up. It's just lots of travelators to go and get your baggage. I haven't seen a baggage hall modelled, unless I've just missed it. Yeah, there are limits to what they're going to model, aren't there? It can't do everything for everybody. Anyway, that was a much more complete look then at Dubai International from Inibuilds. And an absolutely transformative look at it because, yeah, we've discovered, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that I had 2 airports installed. I didn't realise that Dubai had custom scenery already. So then when you install a second set of scenery, you have to go into the marketplace option in 2024. And even though the marketplace isn't quite there just yet, you can go and disable elements of the scenery that is installed or that is available to stream. So I was able to disable the custom version that Asobo have provided and then obviously leave the Inibuilds one alone, and it worked fine. And it's completely transformed it. So all the signage on the ground. Let's go and turn the speed up on the camera. So you can see, look, it's just absolutely crazy. All the markings. I wonder, did they like get a job lot of yellow paint or something? So, yeah, there's a comment there in the live stream, someone on about Johannesburg, sorry. Yeah, it's absolutely worth going and checking to see if you've got 2 Johannesburgs in play. I'm not sure if Johannesburg had custom scenery with the sim. But then obviously if you've added a second one on top, it's going to cause what we saw with this yesterday. But it's been absolutely transformative. This has now become a wonderful, wonderful airport. And it's huge. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was also a nice reminder for me at just how good the Airbus A320 version 2 or the Inibuilds Airbus is in 2024. Obviously it comes with the simulator, which is a huge benefit. Right, so I'm going to take off just to emphasize how big this airport is. And we're flying away with the drone camera at speed. Obviously it's starting to not draw the aeroplanes, look, but we still haven't seen the full length of those runways. This main runway here is 14,000 feet long. It's colossal. And those little dinky toys down there are A380s. And you saw when we flew through the terminals how big they were. It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely colossal. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was Dubai International from Inibuilds. I'll put a link in the comments of the video with where you can get it from at Inibuilds. I'll see you again soon. Take care.